Right. Hi, composers. Um, Today we have a special guest, a composer that's kind of like been recording and studying composition for a few decades now. Um, his name is Stephen Yip, and I'm
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was lucky just coming back.
yeah. I
All
well.
right.
It's
I
that
actually we
dream
truly
like
enjoyed the piece. Yeah.
No,
I
thank you
think
so
that
much.
it's
Thank you so much. Yeah.
It
dream
and
like
it sounds
soundscape in with those tremolandi and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
it
they use
sounds
it.
like
Yeah.
one it sounds like having like various kind of like I would say like state or being and then
Mm-hmm.
transitions from one kind of like texture and then transforms to some other things. It sounds like that. Yeah. And the music
Hmm.
sounds
Yeah.
very
Thank you so
very
much. Thank you so
poetic.
much. Yeah.
Very poetic indeed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Huh?
Mhm.
Yep.
What will you say about your style? I think that in that piece, you kind of it shows that you have kind of a concern with time, with how time is perceived. Like this, I get the feeling that it was elongated throughout the section through the
Mm-hmm.
texture, and that you like kind of incorporating um, pitch material with extended technique materials in a harmonious way, so to speak, as both
Mm-hmm. Yes.
part of your language and for um, formal aspects of composing your music, not in a kind of effectist type of way, kind of like in a superficial kind of way, more like integrated into the fabric of the
Mm-hmm.
music itself. I get that from your music. So, do you want to speak a bit about it?
Oh
Musical
yeah.
style?
Well, pretty much you guys pretty much telling the most of the important part from this piece. Yeah. But I did. Yeah. I really didn't really think about using kind of we call you just mentioned about the extended technique, but since in the most recent years I have been trying to uh thinking about the sound, the nature of the sound, or we can say the kind of more like the sound spectrum. Yeah, because I think about major scale, minor scale is pretty. I don't say artificial, but it's created by people. Yeah, but however, the overtone series is pretty much if you believe it, it's pretty much it's like the origin of the song, and then it's the nature of the song. So that's why I would like to try to see if we can capturing most of the we call the sonority is coming from the spectrum, yeah. Because whatever when you're starting with one fundamental notes, it will just build by itself to capturing all kind of spectrum sound things. So that's why the overtones pretty much is going to be my very first elements in this piece. And then about the timing, and then of course you didn't see my score, and then I did using quite a lot of improvisation. But the improvisation is not just pretty much let the performer to improvise. I gave them guidelines, and then they will be just kind of following all the requirement, and then to have them to play it on their own, which means I don't really set a very important timing, and then to have them to really strictly to play well, and then that I think is going to be my current approach, and or even in the future approach. Yeah, because we might know in the older time we like a serialism, or like before a little bit 12 tone, and then everything is very compact. And then, however, the score looks so compressed as well. The complexity, yeah. I think even Pan and I, we were educated in Darmstadt, and then we kind of in the back to the time. I went there in 2010 and 2012, and then we studied with some major composers, and then with kind of a German, and then a Darmstadt style, and then just kind of like a, well, I can just randomly name some big composer like Brian Ferneyhough, and then was one of my big heroes, and then my big favorite composer. And I did study with him in 2 years. Even in June in Buffalo, I went there 3 times. Yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah, every 7 years I went to June in Buffalo.
Oh,
So,
every 7 years.
so you can see.
Oh,
Yes, it's
okay.
very interesting. The last time when I went there, I was the oldest one. Actually, the second time when I was there, I was also the oldest one. So, but anyway, it's not important,
But
yeah, about the
but
age.
but actually,
But
I have a sorry. Please go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
to go ahead.
Oh,
Oh, sure, yeah.
actually,
So, but my point. Mm,
sorry about that. Maybe you can keep going, right?
yeah, sure. I think
Yeah.
Juan is angry now. He's yeah. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. Well, actually, my point is, yes, back to about 10 years or kind of 20 years ago, and then my music is, I would say, is a more following Darmstadt and complexity, because we might know in the 21st century, simplicity and the complexity, these are like a two very main direction we composers would like to go. Yeah, and I would still kind of categorize myself as a postmodernism and complexity. Yeah. But in the most recent years, and then I find out, and then it's not very important to creating whatever the complexity of the music or not. But however, I will think about the freedom of the performers to perform music. Whatever the result will come out as a simple or complex, it's not a very big deal. But the major thing is about we might want to save the time for the rehearsals. Perhaps maybe the music score will just provide enough information for performer. They might need to just spend maybe 2 rehearsals, but they will get a similar result or even better result, which means it sounds maybe just like you need to overwrite or over like a kind of over like everything just overwriting, and then which means all the rhythmic stuff, and then it just kind of giving too much, and then to provide a similar thing you might need like a 10 rehearsals. I remember when we were in Darmstadt, at DT String Quartet, we have the seminar, and then we were talking about how did they rehearse Ferneyhough's String Quartet and Lachmann's String Quartet, whatever. And then which means somehow we were just looking for something they need to rewrite or revise the music itself. And then I remember during the seminar, I was asking a kind of silly question. I was asking, is any string quartet from Ferneyhough is not playable? And Aditi did answer me, but of course I'm not going to share the answer at this time. Yeah, but anyway, the point is I just saying, and then I will just try to looking for the direction. And nowadays, and then we just spending maybe 2 rehearsals, the players could be able to have a better outcome, but not just limit to themselves or kind of over control prayers and overwriting our music. The notation become too much complexity. Yeah. That's my point now. So that's
I
why yeah, go ahead.
I think actually it's a very good talking point because when I listen to the music, it sounds like a very carefully written out score.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was a, very, a little bit surprised that when you mentioned improvisation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, However, when we look into music from a more practical standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when we try to write like let's say quintuplet, it's
Mm-hmm.
it
Yes.
especially at a fast tempo, people may not hear that quintuplet like
Yeah.
very clearly. And
Mhm.
when it is very slow, at the same in contrary, when it is too slow, when everything is a little bit elastic, maybe the performers also employ a little bit of rubato, and then the
Mm-hmm.
quintuplet won't sound like a quintuplet anyway, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
sometimes actually when we try to provide a lot of details and we are just trying to um, make sure that the pieces will be performed in a particular way, but even if the performers are very competent, very skillful, it is actually very hard to ensure so-called a perfect performance.
Mhm.
But maybe
Right. Yeah.
allowing a little bit of liberty could make the rehearsal a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But of course, if the performers are not very good at improvisation or even less competent, then uh, then improvisation can cause another kind of problem. Yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
maybe the performers couldn't come up with the things that you prefer, or maybe the music can sound very different from your ideal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
I know,
think this is
like,
the point. Yeah. Yeah. Because I agree with if I
no, you
can. Yeah.
can go.
Because of if you overwrite your music, and then sometimes if you like a 4 against 3 against 7, like a six trumpet, whatever, and then
Mhm.
as a result, as an audience, we might be able to hear, oh, that was a mistake, or they will say it doesn't go too smooth. However, if you didn't overwrite it and then you just give more freedom to the performer, they might just focus on their own part. But if the composer is clever enough or smart enough, and then they should be able to design whatever they need. So, but I was very happy.
Yeah.
Pan just told me that my piece doesn't sound like improvisation, which means the all the requirement I request for the performer, they did it right. They did it right. So, which means you don't really hear exact the point where they miss, because I just trying to growing the overtones. I always say this is like a vertical harmony, not linear.
Mhm.
Because linear, whatever we say is going to be like the melody is going to be linear. When we say the overtones, is you can see it's going to be building up from a like a fundamental octave, fifth, fourth, and then going up. So which means when you're growing from this direction, you can just have a select whatever you need, and then which means they will just have a more timing to control
Mhm.
what they want to grow in this harmonies, yeah. And then which means the harmonies could
Mhm.
be more improvised, but you just never expect or calculate what time, and then maybe in the second or fourth seconds we can hear this and that, because we didn't really using the traditional notation, composing in this way from left to right, from the first second to the
Mhm.
second and third second, because it's going up in the vertical approach, yeah. So that is about that. I have been thinking
Just
about it and then to
A-
provide this.
and
so
somehow sorry.
no, you can say.
Yeah, and somehow
That's
when we have improvisations, actually we are allowing the performers to be less allied in a way that
Mhm.
they may not play exactly together, and somehow I mean very interesting because
Mhm.
maybe like 5 minutes ago Stephen talks about like complexity and simplicity, where a lot of time when we talk about complexity we may mean like very complex harmonies as well as like polyrhythm, something like
Mm-hmm.
that. And
Yeah.
when we try to have like improvisation, allow such things to happen, actually we are also allowing some less perfectly aligned
Mm-hmm.
rhythm so as to need to so-called like some kind of like very interesting rhythmic uh results, right, or effects.
Mm-hmm.
And 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 you know what, another interesting thing is when we talk about like improvisation,
Mm-hmm.
especially for formally trained composer, it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like a new thing in some way. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, it is some one improvisation is one of the most basic elementary ways of making music. When kids try to learn an instrument, they may improvise a little bit. When we talk about
Mm-hmm.
like the pop music, actually the piano part or the guitar part kind of, they are kind of improvised in some way too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's harder to learn in a way though, too, because like I teach like very young composers. I have a student that really just um, wants the sound of musicians not being like together and
Mm-hmm.
um, and sound like yeah they're each kind of doing their own thing and
Mm-hmm.
their approach is complexity. Like they have all this super
Yeah.
complex rhythms and like notations that don't make a lot of sense. Then if you listen to
Mm-hmm.
what they want, there'd be easier ways
Mm-hmm.
of notating it. It also depends on the
Yeah.
it's for me like it depends on the performer too. Like if I were to write for a group that has no experience, doesn't do improvisation.
Right.
I'm not saying I wouldn't never do improvisation, but I would be probably wouldn't be a huge part of the piece. But like I wrote a
Mm-hmm.
piece a year ago for my friend Andrew Jamison, who's probably the best improviser I've ever met. He's
Mm-hmm.
amazing at it. And I mean, I have obviously guidelines, but I'm like, sometimes that improvisation is such a big part of his musicality, so it kind of made sense to make that a bigger part of that piece for me. Does the performers that you have slated for a particular piece, does that kind of change your approach to improvisation?
Mm-hmm. Me or a pen?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Stephen.
actually, when I said improvisation, they really well for my piece, this piece, especially, and then the
Uh-huh.
actual performer did not really need to know how to improvise because my notation is just letting them have enough space and then ability to improvise. Yeah, so that's why I would say I just have a kind of a firm, and then I frame this and then structure what I need to do it, and then I will inside this every sessions or it can even movements, and then the performers will just need
Yeah,
to know what they need to do, and then they will have like a freedom to perform their music. This is the
yeah.
point now. So that's why when the pen
They
just
got
mentioned, he doesn't sound like improvisation because it seems like a kind of a lineup, and then because the details, everything's are already noted. But I just really didn't say using a like at the first beat, like at after the triplet of the A note, and then the another instrument will come, and then something like that. And then I didn't really write that one down. Yeah, so that's the point. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
No, I think
well,
it's interesting. Like,
since
I mean,
hmm,
we talked about all those
hmm,
Darmstadt
yeah,
composers, and a lot of them, a lot of their music I really like a lot, but a lot of those people they're so sometimes fixated on the scores, and so many of them have
yeah, right,
absolutely gorgeous
yeah,
scores, but sometimes it's like the score
hmm,
becomes an art that's like separate from
hmm,
the music in itself.
hmm. Yeah.
and becomes, I
Well,
think Juan says, oh, the score is like a fiction. Isn't that what you've said before?
mhm.
Yeah,
Yep, definitely. But
Yeah.
I will be interested in see how you do you what are your instructions like? Do you pick boxes for them of fish material? Do you give them like text instructions? What
Mhm.
are the parameters that you choose? What is the language that you choose to convey your music in? How do you notate it
Mhm.
when it comes to
Well,
notation?
let me see. I don't have my score in front of me, but I think I remember I might have some pushing some bosses, but those are not the major. And then mostly I just pretty much know what session and what music or what sound do I need, and then I just actually if I just say the improvisation, those are just covered within maybe 20 seconds or even more than a little bit more and less than that. So which means every 20 or 30 seconds and then maybe longer or shorter. And then I have enough instruction to tell them what to do. And then which means a performer just they will just kind of understand composers want this kind of sound. And then that's why they will be just kind of working together in those things. Let me see. Well, for example, I can show you the very beginning. Well, can you see? But this is like at the very first measure. I have it.
Yeah,
You can see it's kind of a
Okay.
well. I still I know you can still see I use the time signature 4/4, yeah, but the 4/4 is not just really like the thing, and then I just try to have them to articulate together and then holding together, and then which means that you can see the floaters, and then they kind of slowing with the flutter turning with the I call the slow bar effect, and then which means they have to close the mouthpiece, and then to cover flutter turning, and then we'll just drop like a major seventh below, and then that kind of sign, and then just have them free to have the crescendo and diminuendo, and then to last about 6 to 7 seconds, and then they're going to do it twice in different pitches, and then after this, and then I will just have the air sign to providing on the fruit, and then to continue into some kind of sustaining sign, and then the harp will just showing some kind of a point or short note, so which means they just kind of have the picture they are playing long note and short note, and then they kind of like a little more like a counterpoint or like a kind of a counter melody with the melody, and then they will be kind of inverted counterpoint, and the other one will just one play long note, one play short note, and then after this they will just inverted, and then one play short note and another will play long note. Yeah, so that could be one of the thing, and then the thing. Yeah, but maybe I can extend a little bit more about this topic because most recently I've been teaching improvisation to my composition student. I let them 2 semester. I set up a like an improvisation class, and then the first semester I have them to do graphic notation. So I asked them to do the graphic notation. And of course, I would just ask the students to just improvise by playing music by themselves. And then actually, when they performing, they will be using anything they can make sound, make noise, such as they can sing, they can see, they can say, or they can talk, or whatever. They can just make noise, and then they can play any kind of instruments or whatever. They can just bring anything, newspaper or a cartoon box, or they can play something inside piano, whatever. They just make a sound, and then but the first thing they have to create a graphic notation first. So, well, anyway, as a just 1 semester, and then and all well, I have that semester I have 8 students. So 8 students they need to work together. So I will just hands off for them. They will just composing 8 short movements and then putting together as a big piece. So, however, I was very surprised because of those students. They are freshmen, their first year, and then they might do not have a very good technique to write music, and then but I was very surprised, and then the outcome was quite outstanding because whatever they just bring up their imaginations, they just painting something on the notation, and then they will just projecting something that they really like from their heart. But of course, during the rehearsal, I keep tracking them and then to try to let them push themselves to become more innovative, becoming more kind of need to be jumping out of the box, and then they cannot just kind of limited to playing major scale, minor scale. I would say whatever, you just need to think about the main meaning of the sign. The sign could be sustaining sign, could be a like a very punchy sign, or could be something like very unpitched, which means something like you cannot be able to tell how many frequency is it, or can be something like a more definite pitch, like maybe you can sing a 440 hertz, something like that. So I kind of destruct the concept of music, because I know everyone, when they come to the music school, they might sing Beethoven, they might singing whatever ode to joy, and then with the do re mi, major scale, minor scale. So maybe some are a little bit smarter, they will think about 12 tone, but I just try to destruct everything from this. So no tone, no pitch. If you just accidentally hit up to some kind of pitch element, it's okay. But I would just really want them to create something from the nature of the sound, whatever they can bring it up. I just try to workshop them, and then I gave workshop, and then such as whatever. Today I give you papers, I give you a wooden table, whatever, anything in the classroom you can make noise. Just try to create this, and also try to giving them idea how to visualize the pictures, something from the objects becoming a soft, like kind of a soft materials, becoming the noise, becoming the sound, becoming a, maybe finally we may say, define what is music. I would say this is about the music now. I know it's kind of sounds a little bit crazy for a freshman student, yeah, but as a result, I was very surprised, and then that worked quite well, yeah. So this, I just want to bring up a point. Um, well, we may always want to say jazz musicians, they always really have the spirit, and they're very, I would say, the spirit is inside from the music. But somehow classical players, they might not doing similar things. But because we can see the kind of the major things between this now, jazz musicians, they read the music is pretty simple. We might say lead sheet. Lead sheet is just a melody with some chord. However, after they play through the whole song, play through the whole piece, they will starting their improvisation, which means those will be just instantly composing something. Well, perhaps this could be the thing is about the real music. We might talk about it, but compared to the classical musicians, I'm not saying which one is good, which one is bad. Yeah, because it may never be compared. Yeah, and then we might know. I think four of us are trained as a classical musicians. Yeah, when we play piano, we study Bach, we play Mozart. We will tell what is the right note, what is the wrong note. We know it. When we hit the wrong note, everybody can hear that. When we get the rhythmic wrong, it's very, very clear. We can tell. So which means we don't really the first step. I would say the first step, we are going to distinguish right or wrong, rather than good or bad, rather than more spirit or less spirit. So that is about the I would say the difference. So that's why I'm not really pushing the improvisation is the best idea we are going to think about it. So but just seems, I would think, if you can just do something really, really from your heart, as a result, it sounds just nice, just good. So that's like if the performer, they just know what composers want to do, and then to allow them to becoming much more freedom to perform, and then they will just receive your enough information, instructions, and then they will have the chance to become involved in your composition. So that's why performers, composers will always engage. It's like a very, very good working out together experience. Yeah, this is what I want to share. Yeah. So we time out,
Yeah.
right? Is it?
Actually, it's a very good point when we talk about like improvisation, because somehow as a formally trained composer, we usually believe composition and improvisation are two separate disciplines.
Yeah,
Like
right.
we improvise. When we improvise, we are talking about like we mix music or we mix sound spontaneously, instinctively, and actually when we compose, we may feel like it is, of course, we have something from our hearts, but maybe there would be some kind of pre-compositional process,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe after we write out something, we will have a lot, we will have like a long process of revision. We may edit quite a bit. We may rework on the same thing, try to make it sound better or sound closer to the ideal in our head. I I believe actually both are good. Both can be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but of course, unlike jazz musicians, when we try to compose, we are when we try to notate, to be
Mm-hmm.
precise,
Mm-hmm.
we try our best to transmit the information required for so-called a good performance of
Mm-hmm.
our piece or our concept. Yeah, but for improvisation, for improvisers, they may feel like, okay, I have got this. This is
Mm-hmm.
what I can think of at this moment. So I just play this, and they don't really have the responsibility to transcribe the things out. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
it really depends on what kind of responsibility you want to take, because in the past, for example, at the time of Mozart, Muzio, Clementi, or Beethoven, they took part in musical duel. They improvise
Yeah, right.
as
Oh yeah.
like some kind of battle,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I recently read something like Mozart was not very impressed by Clementi, but Clementi was very impressed by Mozart, and
Yeah.
talk about his Mozart's ability to be expressive, something like that.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah,
Yeah.
I strongly believe that when we allow a little bit more liberty
Mm-hmm.
to the performer, then the performer's musicality can
Mm-hmm.
can be projected into the
Mm-hmm.
performance better. But at the
Yeah.
same time, maybe we are too rigid sometimes in the past when we talk about like notation or whether the performance is accurate. Yeah, maybe we were too
Mm.
rigid too. Nowadays on YouTube, we can find a lot of like video that has the video, has the recording, but at the same time we could see the score. If we
Of the
compare,
sword followers, yeah.
yeah, if we like, let's say London Philharmonic Orchestra, they have something like, for example, whatever Mahler Symphony, and then some kind of like a performance, and then you can
Mm-hmm.
tell actually even for the whole orchestra, when
Mm.
they play complicated music, complex music, they
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
they have some they still show some kind of fluidity in their
Mm-hmm.
performances. But
Mm.
when we are the composers, when we write our something, somehow we have an expectation that performance
Yeah.
should be pretty accurate. However, when we talk about improvisation, maybe we don't really have to overly value this kind of accuracy, because the
Mm.
accuracy may kind of harm
Mm.
the musicality or the possibility of showing better musicality, right?
Mm.
For
Yeah,
sure. I mean, and we can, if we were that interested in accuracy, we could write for electronics and computers,
Yeah.
which would have, you know, I mean, I guess electronics can fail and just not work or load. But,
Mm.
other than that, they pretty much have a perfect accuracy, but you don't get the humanism because it's obviously
right.
it's not a human.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well.
Actually, it's not very hard to understand when we let's say when we try to read the plays by Shakespeare.
Mm.
Shakespeare didn't really dictate how the actors actresses should should recite his lines actually.
Mm.
But
Yeah. Right.
good actors and actresses can kind of interpret. Okay, this should be angry. This should be jealous. They, of course, Shakespeare wrote fabulously. So it is very easy to tell, very easy to show this kind of emotional characters. But at the same time, actors and actresses have the freedom to to interpret how they can act in the play on right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
it seems like you describe yourself like a. Will you describe yourself like an intuitive composer, so to speak? Do you follow your intuition, Stephen? In that
I'm sorry.
sense, do you
You
follow your intuition? In that sense, are you more of an intuitive composer? Would you describe yourself as an intuitive composer?
well, actually, maybe before I answer this, I think I would like to develop a little bit because when Pan mentioned about the whatever London Symphony Orchestra, because it really just pretty much I would like to share something because I think not even now or even in the past when orchestra commission composers to write a new piece, you know how many rehearsal do they give it to us? It's very, very little. And the
Yeah.
time is very little. Yeah. Even I remember I don't mention name, and then I was attending some kind of seminar, and those very big name composer too. They don't have much time to rehearse the rehearsal, and then even you might know the reading session for the most recently, and then like the what are the call well, we have been American Composer Orchestra, yeah, right?
Oh
What the
yeah.
name? You know, they have, yeah, the reading sessions, yeah, and then wow, they just give each piece 45 minutes. Well, which means one rehearsal, 45 minutes, yeah. So and then I have a chance to participate, and then wow, and then because I wrote very details, very accuracy, everything is lined up together. As a result, of course, it was kind of very not very pleased to each other because I really didn't hear what I wrote it. So, however, if we just try to think about another way, and then if we can just write to another approach, but however, the outcome could be similar. So that is why one of the reasons I need to change the way how do we notate it. So that's why I will just try to see to finding a new way, and it's just quite interesting. I think now I think I pretty much you three. I know you three are much younger than me, yeah, but maybe you guys are still 40 something, right? 40 something years. So if we have a chance to talk to some even younger generation composers, and then wow, they most of them are kind of looking for a new direction. It's pretty much in this way, yeah. They will just try to become much more consumed the time, and then but to having or getting a better result, and then to becoming like a good result but less timing, more consuming time, and then to be have the like a better result. So this is I would like to see in the future. I think we need to think about in this way. Yeah. So that's why when I teach my students, and then I just want to see if you're writing too complicated, and then because you can see looking at the bullets, and then even some Olivier Muson, and then their music is kind of a quite interesting and very interesting. Yeah, not quite, but quite complicated. Yeah, so that's why. And then I was saying, during the time, and then performer really needs to spending a lot of time to for the rehearsal. Yeah, but nowadays, and then we should be able to feel to be coming and to find another route, the way to do that. Yeah. So yes, actually, and then if I think about myself, I have been changing my style because we as a composer, I think we need to really follow um the time, and then which means if you are well when I compose, I starting if in 90s, yeah, because I went to college in 1991, so it was like almost last century, yeah. And then during the time, and then we still composing kind of a complexity music, yeah. So and then everything's notate pretty well, then which means um it's kind of like a second Vienna school, and then then I was starting with. Yeah. So, but not until when I came to the United States, it was 1995, and then well, actually, I didn't really change my style much, but it's kind of pretty much from more atonal music becoming much more tonal. Well, but it's kind of interesting because uh, I went to school. I went to Rice University in Houston, Texas. Yeah, and then I just kind of feeling a little bit difference when I was in Hong Kong because I grew up in Hong Kong, and then I pretty much composing much more music is might have more European influence, more European influence. So, but it's interesting. I was born in Hong Kong, grew up in Hong Kong, but I during the time I didn't have much, or we call the Oriental or Asian root. So if you Google myself, my music or the kind of music, and then people have been uh, pretty much written to express my music as more like an Asian root with complexity training, something like that. Yeah. So, but however, perhaps during the 90s, Hong Kong is a British colony. So, and then that's why you might be able to tell the difference between those we call Chinese people, but with like a more Western cultural influence. So, but yes, including myself, even I think even my teachers and then or most of my colleagues, we have a very strong Western cultural influence. So, but however, it was kind of a more like a, in the European because Britain is a more like a, in the European. But when I came to the United States, I can tell the difference between American and European. So and then that's kind of a little bit, I don't say cultural bomb, but a little bit kind of hitting to my composition style. Yeah, and then that's why I kind of changing a little bit from little bit more atonal becoming more tonal. Yeah. So and then, but however, some point around about the time I graduated from school, and then I have been kind of looking back a little bit more about the Western, I mean the Eastern and the Chinese style. Yeah, because I don't know why. Just I just don't know why. Yeah, just and then even after I graduate, I finished my DMA in 2000, and then after 2000, and then I just don't know why. Just I have been very interested in reading Chinese aesthetics ideas, and then so many historical books, and I was so interested. So more like in 2000 and 2010, I composed quite a lot of Asian style music, which means I composed for authentic Chinese instruments. I composed something for the Japanese, like a shakuhachi music. So I composed many Oriental music during the 2000 and 2010. Yeah. So and then and of course after 2010, around 2012 or 13 something, and then until now, I'm just kind of looking back to the nature of the sound. And then because I find a similarity between contemporary music, the definition of contemporary music, Asian music, and about the nature of the sound. Let me get some water.
Since you talk about the influences from the Asian
Mhm.
or Oriental instruments, and also you talk about your so-called musical training back in Hong Kong, and
Yeah.
I find it very interesting because when I was a student at the Hong Kong Academy for Performing Arts, in the
Mhm.
library there were a lot of music, a lot of scores by Japanese composer. The
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot of music by like Takemitsu, Toshio
Mhm.
Hosokawa, Akira Nishimura.
Mhm.
We I did you have that collection back then in the 90s? I'm
Yeah,
just
I can.
curious.
I'm answering you. Pan, you are so lucky. During our time, we have none. We have none. So, but if you're asking me, do I have a collection? I can answer yes. But why I did this collection, I brought it. I I pay everything. Yeah, we went to art center next to our school, and then we ordered. It was very expensive, and then we spent a lot of money by ordering score. And then you can tell, I'm not the only one. There's another guy, Pun Bo Choi, and I,
Oh
and
yeah,
also we
Maurice
both,
Poon.
yeah, and then we both kind of crazy to order stuff, and then we spend a lot. But he is rich, but I'm not rich. But I just spend money. So that's why, between you and me, and then we have about 15 years gap, right? Because during the
At
time
least.
we didn't have any Takamishu Hosokawa in our library. I ordered most of the stuff from my pocket, from my pocket, and then we order things. But in our library, we have Stravinsky, we have Debussy, we have a Sostakovich, yeah, and we still have some Bartok string quartet, yeah, during that time, yeah. So
Uh,
and
uh,
then actually, when you're looking at my bag, I have my bookcase here. There's so many collection over there, yeah, and then those are pretty much the real thing. I bought it from my pocket, yeah. Well, I think I would like to kind of go back to my question about talking about the contemporary music, Asian music, and the nature of the sound. That's why I would just kind of explain why I didn't want to signature myself. I use extended technique because I would think about, if we talk about the contemporary music, we might think about so many kind of a sound. They would just kind of using the kind of we call the extended technique something. But however, when I'm starting thinking about Asian music, and what as well as especially 2000 and 2010, I was focusing on composing more Oriental music. So, for example, shakuhachi. Shakuhachi is a bamboo fruit. It's a bamboo fruit. Pretty much the major sound is coming from the noise, from the wind. Whatever you breathe, and then breathe in, breathe out, and then you kind of attack everything when you think about this. And then when you think about the contemporary technique or extended technique, when they play the Western flute, they kind of imitating something like a kicks. Key kicks, we know it. It's kind of like an attacking percussive sound. It's kind of imitating the shakuhachi, the attacking percussive sound. And also all the air tone, air sound is also kind of imitating the shakuhachi. So which means contemporary music or most kind of extended technique, they have been trying to imitating nature of the sound. And then I was thinking about the nature of the sound is quite related to most of the Oriental or Chinese authentic instruments. Because such as like a erhu or koto, everything, they are kind of the war. I mean war, which means that not just about the tone color of itself. It's about the manufacture, all the design, everything are quite war, which means they have not been developed too well. But however, this is one of the kind of the best thing or the thing we might want to think about it. Yeah, because of contemporary music, we want to make some noise because they might want some this kind of wars, the war sound. Yeah. So on the other hand, most of the Western musical instruments they have been kind of a little bit too well developed. However, becoming a little bit more artificial, but less originality. So, but thinking about the koto,
Let me
shakuhachi, even the
let me
shan is
interrupt
very,
you a
very
bit.
original.
Are you saying that pitch based music will be more civilized and in turn more artificial?
Could be, could be,
Could
yeah,
be,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So
That
that's why I just try to
really
find out.
like that
Mhm.
approach. I haven't heard that approach before, honestly
Mm.
speaking.
Yeah, so that's
So
why I just trying to see wow we can find these three things related together. So that's why I now and then I'm just thinking about I'm just want to express or something finding about the nature of the sound. Maybe it is about the thing we call the extended technique. So that's why, and then when you hear my piece, fruit and harp, when we hear some kind of attacking sound, percussive sound, actually is coming to imitating the nature of the noise, whatever. But however, somehow we have the extended technique. They kind of call this ton ramp, or I call the Stober bass, whatever, and then those kind of a thing, and then it's just coming out from the nature of this. Yeah. So that is a I don't know it's a coincidence or not, but just I just really think about this the relationship between the contemporary music, Asian music, and the nature of the sound. These three actually they are pretty much related. So that's why I would not just say I would just open a whatever instrumentation book and then talk about the extended technique and then I want to this, then I'm going to put this in my library. Whatever this is my vocabularies, and then I'm going to use this and then that one, ton ram, whatever, further turning, whatever, and then this is it. Yeah. And well, maybe recently we have to see there's one of the composer from Juliet. He is a PhD student in Juliet, and then I think he graduated already. And he just tried to do some uh, um, uh, capturing some kind of nature videos, and then but written for music. Then which means he just tried to notate the some kind of capturing some kind of like a bird singing, and however, the outcome sounds really like a contemporary music. And then when he do this like an adaptation, and then you can see the score looks like a contemporary music. Yeah, it's very avant-garde. But the what he want to express is to capture the nature of the sound, such as the birds singing or some kind of like the water sound, whatever, and then you can see the trees, whatever, and then you can kind of hear that. So and then of course this is not very original composition, but he just tried to adapt the sound. He might use some software as well, I believe. And then he's just transforming transcription. He make the transcription to musical score. And then even though some musical score is played by the real acoustic instruments, they kind of adapted to this kind of nature sound. So that is very impressive to me. Yeah.
I get the sense from how you speak that you tend to see extended techniques as percussive sounds mostly.
Mm-hmm.
You tend to integrate them as percussion instruments more or less. Would you say
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that would be another layer to your music in a way?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, actually, it
Okay.
doesn't have to be because I was thinking about whatever. Just give me an instrument. What if like a woodwind instrument? I would think about what is the major sound from the woodwind instrument. If a flute, I would think about the wind sound and then the vibrating sound, and also some kind of the like we call the wind sound, and then with some kind of attacking the keys, and then which means integrating these kind of materials could be the of course the major of the sound. If you think about the piano, I would say more like it's a percussive instrument more than a keyboard instrument, because when we play the keyboard, play the keys, you can see the mechanical movement is going to be finally how do the piano make the noise is using the hammer to hit the strings. So which means we just try to using the key, whatever the keys to play it, and then eventually there's a hammer to hit the strings, which means it's a percussive instrument rather than a keyboard instrument. So keyboard is much more artificial or like the design by people, but the originality of the piano is like a percussive instrument. So and then which means we just try to. So that's why you can see many composers and then they will John Cage whatever they play inside piano because about this, because about the nature of the sound of the piano is about the percussive instrument. We can just directly to play something on the strings. So that's why George Crumb, John Cage, most of these great composer, when they compose something for piano, they don't really just play just composing something like a Chopin or a Franz Liszt. And then you can see Beethoven too. Yeah, and then wow, they be very virtuosic and then fingerings. Yeah, but now and then people composing something for piano, you don't have like a very high technique to play with your 10 fingers crazily. Yeah, and then you don't have to spend 8 hours a day to practice. But of course, you need to spend in time to practice, but not that technical demanding things. It's more about creative. How do you make the sound on the strings? How do you just make using only one strings but muting in different area, different distance, and providing overtones? That will be the very new or kind of interesting thing we might want to think about that.
When you talk, you remind me of how Megan thinks about music in a way because it's kind of like both of you really take into consideration the physicality of the instrument and
Hmm.
how it produces its sound. Wouldn't you say so? I I think so.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
For
Another
sure.
topic I wanted to address was um, with the recent albums that you released, like by Moonflowers, Quietude, and Whispering Fragrance. What would you say kind of represent is more representative of where you are at right now, compositionally speaking?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, pretty much, yeah. But when you're looking at the title of those pieces, and then my last album, let me see. I think I have it here. Yeah, yeah. You can see the title of these pieces
I
is
stick
more
to
about
those. Okay.
the nature of the film. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. What do you say? Yeah. Go on.
Um, like the ones I found like only of your music on Apple Music were by Moonflowers, Quietude from 2021, by Moonflowers from
Mm-hmm.
2023, Whispery Fragrance from 2018. Are there any more of your music only? Because I've also seen you on other multi-composer albums, so to speak.
Hmm. Yeah, there are some more, and then I've been composing and working on it right now, and then and because usually when we see it on my album, which means it's already starting some time, and then to have the recording project, and then after finishing, and then we will submit it to the different CD album, and then so that's why it's kind of taking time, yeah, but but in fact, the recent years, and then I have been slowing down a little bit, and then I maybe getting a little bit lazy, yeah, to compose, yeah. But yes, I just try to composing almost one or two pieces in 1 year, yeah. So and then recently I've been finishing a piece for a quartet. It's for the saxophone, electric guitar, piano, and percussion. Yeah, it's a commission work by a group called Cam Ensemble. Yeah, so in Florida, and then which is one of the music festival I went there a couple of times, and yes, and I was lucky, and then they commissioned me to write this piece, and then the piece also I try to involve much more. I don't really say improvisation, but kind of letting performers more free to performing on their own. But I will just give enough instruction. And then about the the materials, I would also kind of collecting so many other nature of the song rather than creating a pitch organization. So which means a pitch now for me is not very important. Yeah, I would like to really want to selecting some kind of resources um, from nature. Yeah, I've actually I can share one of my experience too. Yeah, because one time, not one time, but sometime I was just kind of walking about a little bit because of my teaching school. One of the campus is very nice, and then they have they've kind of in a kind of wood forest, and then also we have fountains, and then it's kind of so many nature elements. I just walk around, and then I really hear so many sound, so many organic sound, which means I can try to capture all of this kind of thing, and then they can be coming kind of becoming my music. So that's why I would pretty much to see if I will focusing more on the nature, and then to bring those sound to become my music. Yeah. So this is what I'm currently doing, and then even in the future, I think so far I've been trying to going to this direction. Yeah. So yeah. Is it time? This program is about an hour, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think that
Okay.
I well, I wanted to ask you before you leave. Will you say that then you give more important to the gesture, to the overall gesture. It seems to me that you are kind of like you will go around those priorities more that they get the general gesture right and the
Mm-hmm.
specifics of it,
Sure.
right? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that seems fine with me. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
We're
Thanks
happy
for
to
So
see
coming.
you. Oh,
much.
yeah. And then very nice to meet you
It's nice to
again,
meet you.
Megan and Juan. Yeah, I think it's our
Yeah,
first
it's
time
nice
to
to
see
meet
each
you.
other. Yeah. Yeah, and
Okay.
then Pan
Yes.
and I, we met each other for a long time, but we really, you know what? I met Pan online. Yeah, when we see each other in person, it's only a few times, very, very few times. Yeah.
I'm not too sure about that, but yeah, thanks for sharing your insights. Really inspiring. Yeah,
Thank you
yeah,
so much. Yeah. All right. So, and
yeah,
again, thank you
and
so much for having me here. Yeah. So I will see you all. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Listen.
Okay. Let
Thanks
me
for
know when
having
the
coming.
episode comes out, and then I would like to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All
Definitely.
right.
Peace out.
Okay.